These are my top 5 moments from the mid-season finale, The Walking Dead, Season 5, Episode 8, Coda. I don't know why, but when the fire truck comes in and it blocks the church door, it just was hilarious to me how, I don't know, it's just like any other convenient movie when the person shows up right at the right time and ends up saving the other people's lives. It just was super goofy to me and I really liked it. And I also like the scene because they're not even leaving the plan. Like, Rick and them, they have a plan. And then those people are just like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to the hospital and, help them. It's like, you don't even know what they're doing. You could show up at the hospital and get captured. You could show up at the hospital and ruin all their plans. Like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just sit put and wait? Also kind of like the scene because Maggie shows emotion and happiness about her sister when she really couldn't care about her before. Like, I have to expect when people are like, oh, we know where Beth is, and Meg's like, who? Because she, we've seen when there was just maybe even a glimmer of hope of finding Gladman, she went crazy trying to find him. Her sister goes missing? Who cares? Next favorite scene is when Dawn and the cop are fighting after Beth goes to the elevator for alone time, and, Dawn confronts her and talks to her, and then they get into an awesome fight. And a couple favorite moments. The fight in general was really cool because I like it anytime a female is kicking ass and, shown that being a police officer or military or whatever, they can also hold their own. But the two favorite things is, one, when Dawn throat punches him, I think was awesome. Throat punch for the win. And then the other part is when the cop is trying to get Beth off of him and he goes, stay in your lane, bitch. I don't know why, but that just cracked me up. I have never heard someone hit someone or do something and then scream, stay in your lane, bitch, unless, we're on a highway or something. So, two pretty funny scenes. Also like how, Dawn is trying to explain to Beth what's going on and trying to make her seem bring more humanity to her character, and I think also trying to make us feel a little bit more sorry for Dawn and understand where she's coming from, that, she's trying to lead these people, and those people are actually worse than her because, they're rapists and they beat old men and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the scene. Number 3, any Morgan scenes. So I know we get a preview of the episode and we see Morgan and we're like, oh yeah, and then we have to wait until literally the last 2 minutes of the episode. But if we only got 5 minutes of Morgan per episode at the end just to see what he's doing, I think that would be awesome. And, just to see his little adventures, and he doesn't even need to say anything. That's what I love about Morgan. He can just do these badass things and not say anything, and it's awesome. Heck, even him going to church just giggling, I think that'd be a cool way to end the episode each time, just going along with that. So any Morgan scene is pretty cool, and I think it's going to pay off when they finally do reunite. Number 2 is when Rick is hunting down the cop in the beginning of the episode. And this is pretty important to me because I have mentioned in other episodes about half measures. And Rick is done with half measures. And the only time he gets convinced to do half measures is when other people, stop him. And then something bad always happens. Whenever anyone else is like, oh, Rick, you can't do that. We have to do this. And then, it always comes back to bite them. Literally and sometimes figuratively. So the cop is running and Rick is in the car chasing him down in the police car. And he's radioing, over on the speaker saying, stop, I won't hurt you, and the cop, refuses to stop, which is this guy's plan in the first place is pretty stupid. One, you're tied up, there's zombies everywhere, you have multiple people that are going to come after you with weapons, they have cars, what do you think you were going to do? And then the guy doesn't slow down, and Rick just slams on the accelerator and hits the guy, supposedly breaks his back, he has a pretty bad head wound. And the guy's like, please don't do this, just bring me to the hospital. And Rick's like, no, it's too late. I told you to stop and you didn't. And the guy tries to tell him, you're too far gone, you've been out here too much. And Rick's just like, shut up, and shoots him in the head. And I, again, really like this scene because it's, Rick's showing there's no half measures. We gave you a chance, you screwed it up, you're out of here. And showing Rick's more ruthless side, which, I always enjoy because that's what you need to do to survive. Not being a complete animal, but realizing that you need to take care of things and you just can't hope for the best anymore. You have to be more proactive in your solutions. And then, he comes back and you can tell Sasha I mean, that poor girl, she's lost Bob, and then, she tried to do something nice, which I think is something Bob would do. She tried to do a Bob thing, and it instantly just blew up in her face. So now she's just dealing with that and realizing that she has to be a certain way. She can't be like Bob. She can't be like her brother, because that never turns out. And it's great that they can be like that, but she realizes that she can't. And then my number one moment is when they're doing the prisoner exchange. And the deal, it would have been fine, but Dawn had to puff out her chest, puff out her feathers, show that, she's in charge. She didn't want to lose face in front of her officers, so she tried to get Noah. And honestly, if she wouldn't have done that, everything would have been okay. But Beth was like, you want to know what? That's how it is. I'm not going to take this anymore. And I think Beth knew what she was doing and that she would quite possibly be killed, but she didn't want to let it stand anymore, because she saw so much of people just turning a blind eye, saying this is the way it has to be, we just have to let it go. And Beth is like, no, this isn't going to happen anymore. And even if we leave and I tell Rick what they've done and what she's done and they come back, that's still someone else doing it, and me just putting it off on someone else. And she decided to take action, stabs her with the scissors, quite possibly thinking that she wouldn't have done that. I mean, yeah, she took the scissors, but I don't think she would have done it unless, the Noah thing happened. And then Dawn, I don't think Dawn meant to shoot her, but she's a cop and she was attacked, and it was an instant reaction to point the gun up and just pull the trigger. I mean, it was already in her hands. So I don't think that Dawn maliciously killed her, and you can see the shock on her face. I think it just was all police training, and, of course, they just could not tolerate it. And Daryl ends up taking his gun, just tears in his eyes, and shooting Dawn. And the rest of the cops are like, no, she was the problem. We don't want... I expected a firefight to start and a few cast members to die. But the fact that the other cops were like, no, we're sick of her. It was her, which is interesting because it wasn't just her. There's other cop rapists and beating old men. So I'm really wondering how the new cop is going to take care of this and if she's going to stop that from happening. But what really made the scene, besides, it was very shocking for Beth to die, and I know it was shocking for her, the actress, because she was told in episode 7 that she was going to die in episode 8, so it was like an all of a sudden, by the way, your character's dead, we know you have an apartment in Atlanta and all these friends, but your acting gig is done. And if you watch the Talking Dead, Emily McKinney was just... oh, she was crying, and it was so heartbreaking, to see how emotional she was about this. And then in the show, seeing how emotional, Daryl and Maggie were, and just seeing Daryl crying and breaking down and carrying her body out. And if you remember when Daryl and Beth were together, he was carrying her in his arms, and now again he's carrying her in his arms when they're reunited, except this time she's dead, and it was so terrible. And then Maggie dropping to her knees and crying, and I still think they could have revved up the Maggie being concerned about Beth a little bit more, but it really conveyed the emotions of she thought she had her sister back, and then she was gone. Also like how nobody but Noah wanted to join them. Rick's like, anyone can leave, and everyone's like, we're not going with you crazies, we're gonna stay in here. So those are my top 5 moments from the mid-season finale. You can write yours below, like, subscribe, and come back for more geeky videos every day.